Hi, this is wowsoloist here, and welcome to our first full Heart of Thorns video. This is recorded just after Heart of Thorns went live. So basically what this is the first full day after the expansion went live. So this is almost a week before it was nerfed. So this is a very interesting video in that here is a ranger who I have played at level 80 for a bit, but she has no ascended gear. She has a mix of gear at this point, mostly exotic. In some cases she may even have a green or a blue bit somewhere, rare, but probably mainly exotic. She has, her strength is the two axes that she has that are both named exotics, Labris and Razor Blaze. Both of these are, they're not precursors, but they are exotics, and so they do have an 800 to 1300 or so, 1100, 1300 damage DPS each. So she has some decent gear from a weapon perspective. She has an Arctubus pet, so half wolf, half bear, so he's pretty tough. So now she's taken on the first storyline of the two steps. This video will cover the first two storylines in the Heart of Thorns. So the first one that you get, and then ending with the second one at the end of Torn from the Sky. At that point, you're basically on your own, wandering through the environment, and you can take on the third story as you know, whenever you want to, or are capable or qualified to do it. So as usual, this one we've been through, this is my 8th or 9th time running it. This character also is very experienced in Silver Wastes anyway, but through the 3 beta weekends I've run this with 8 different characters, because every time that I showed you on the video, you know, a guardian, dragon, hunter, or a thief, then it would be a new character that had to be run through this gauntlet. So having been here before, this is obviously getting a bit easy, but I didn't show you all the 8 times we ran through it. I did show you the Revenant, and I think I showed you one of the Clothies. They've made it easier here in that you don't actually have to go into this particular fort bastion, just click on the link outside it, although I have not seen that link up now on a second character when the fort or bastion is actually in combat. If there's an event going on, it seems you have to settle that first, at least from what I've seen. So that brings you to cutscene 1.
And then there was the call. All of us Silvari heard it, and many followed Moldremoth's commands, turning on their packed allies. Many are dead, still others are missing, and our fleet is utterly broken. If rescue doesn't come soon, there won't be anything left to rescue. Please, we need your help.
Commander on the field. Good to see you, Commander. Some of your associates
This is pretty much as we saw in the beta, but cleaner. In
in
terms of people being concerned about this being too hard to solo, it's not. So this will show you how tough it is with a ranger with some sort of good but not great leveling gear, a little bit of after level 80 gear, but nothing ascended. And then I'll show you my Clothy Elementalist, who just literally finished leveling, dinged 80, ran right to the Silver Wastes and ran right into this without equipping any better gear. That was obviously a lot more fun. And she ran into a nasty bug where 3 Hulks refused to take any hits whatsoever for a bit, but then that's a different video. But this video is intended on people who do have read that, or do think that this might be too difficult to do solo, and I want to show you it really is not. There's a few choices to make that make it easier once you get to Heart of Thorns, once you start the Torn from the Sky. Otherwise, this stretch we're in right now is pretty much vanilla Silver Wastes with a couple of the little events thrown in. So you have to talk to, and this was not in the beta, you have to talk to a few characters in 2 different spots, and of course they're battling some things that you have to fight. But for the ranger, none of these things, and you can't talk to them, you've noticed she just tried, unless you first finish off these mobs. They don't respawn, there's only one wave, as far as I can tell. There might be a second wave in this one, a few more wolves, but in some ways, once I got into the second story, this became a lot like running the Revenant the very first time through, and the very first time I ran a Clothy through, and that I did wind up getting checkpointed once on this character. I was just not quite ready for the differences to not having ascended armor and weaponry as we had in the beta, so it does take a little bit of practice. Just keep moving is the secret of this particular expansion. Keep dodging, keep moving.
The boss, Destiny's Edge, airship skills I 10. How did it go so wrong this time?
We're about to see for ourselves. I need you two at the staging area near Amber Sandfall and ready to go when I arrive.
We'll be there. Just gotta mop up the last of these Mortem with old Gripblade here.
Sounds good. See you soon.
You only need to talk to one of these characters. Of course, it also helps if there's other characters or players coming, but you notice that although you can see the other character swinging away, the other player character swinging away, you can't see their mobs nor can you help them, and they can't help you. So this is a solo effort. Just like your personal story, though, I have a feeling you could bring other people to help you if you grouped up before you chose to enter this story. But once you choose to do it alone, you're in it alone. Now this character, I think, missed checking in with the 2 green dots on the right there, which is another couple of characters she was supposed to check in with. Those seem to be optional because she managed to get through this just by breezing right by them. So on the next video with the Elementalist, we'll show those 2. That's where the bug was, so I'm actually glad she didn't go through it. Although she would have had a much less difficult time than the Elementalist with those husks. They just weren't taking any hits. What she had to do was get out of their aggro range to the point where they ignored her and ran back to their original position, and then she ran back before they reset their health and was able to get them down in a couple of hits. But before that, they were just not. Their health bars weren't moving at all. Okay, so this was tremendously easy. She was able, with just taking on that one little battle, to get this event. This is going to get tougher for characters else that do it later because there are fewer people around to help. But I'm not even sure it matters. I'm not sure that this event really is a multiplayer event or if it's just your personal thing. She did check in with these 2 guys. They're so hard to miss.
Oh, and can I help too? Yes.
It doesn't matter which you talk to first. You get the same dialogue from the Asura first and then the Sylvari.
Countess Elite sent me to support you and represent the Shining Blade in the fight against Mordremoth. The jungle won't contain Mordremoth for long. Mordrum incursions are already happening as far away as Diessa Plateau. I also have an obvious personal stake in defeating the jungle dragon. In any case, I am at your disposal.
Glad to have you both aboard. We're going to need all the help we can get. Let's move out.
From here on, we move out. After there's a lot of chit-chat. Listening to the chit-chat. And you just need to hit these green things. You don't need to... In most cases, you don't need to say yes. In one case, you do. Nice vine cut screen. And yes, this is nasty. How to create by monster on screen. Very cool. Real-time monster makes itself. Oh, lights on. It's a bit strange to have an ad cut in the middle. So now you get this shield we've gotten before. You get a few goodies, so make sure you've got some bag space when you come in here, otherwise you'll be sorting bags forever. I still wouldn't use anything with this sand. It doesn't... This character seemed to get coarse sand out of it the minute that she got it, but my elementalist doesn't seem to be getting that, so I'm not quite sure how that works. Nice of them. This little anteroom, I don't understand its reason. There may be a technical reason, other than you need the repair station, and so that could be it. Now this character, instead of going back behind her there right away, which is where you go, I decided, what is this anteroom anyway? This looks like a version of the place we came from, so part of Amber Sandfall. And it is instanced, we can see. They won't let us out past it. It's red around the mini-map, but look, there's Amber Sandfall, and there's an event happening, and so are we back? We should be in a different instance, because we've now moved on. I'm just checking to see what's going on. We now are in Torn from the Sky is our next one, and we are being beaten up on by some really nasty stuff. So I took a look out that door, and my character decided didn't want any part of that. It looks like it's like every mob they could grab thrown together to try and just tell you don't go that way. I don't know why. Probably just easier technically to just put the full Silver Wastes instance, or at least half of it, or a quarter of it, because it looks like you've got most of the Silver Wastes is still available to you, but the mobs seem to be a lot stronger than what you just came from. So I think they've just copied this piece to provide this antechamber that they needed to give you that repair anvil before you launch yourself into, or maybe this is why they also needed a place to hook a yes to start the second story. So it's probably a technical reason why that little second Silver Waste instance is there. And now we get another loading screen, and we'll wind up. This will be the familiar to those of you who've gone through beta or watched the videos of beta. This is the starting of the story part of Verdant Brink, where you wind up with chasing Brahm down the hill, blah blah blah. This is where the real test comes. If you had trouble, which my elementalist did, with the up-leveled Silver Wastes mobs that you had to deal with in Story 1, Part 1, then in Torn from the Skies here, you're going to have a much harder time with the mobs in Verdant Brink, because they are much tougher than what now lies in Silver Wastes in Part 1. So in a little bit of a way, they're hinting to you that if you really had a lot of trouble in the first part of this story, that maybe you should go to the trading post and buy some gear. Or make some gear as we chase Brom down the hill. Norn are so slow, Sylvari gets a chance to gawk around and still wind up ahead of them if we don't watch it.
Enemy territory. Larenthir, glad to see you survived. I need a status report, now.
You're a welcome sight, Commander. Situation.
Okay, so here's the camp.
Mortaroth tore the fleet apart. The pact is in ruins.
Much chitter-chatter.
Destiny's Edge were taken prisoner.
There are actually multiple achievements tied to this now, even more if you're a Sylvari. I'm taking the same route I took through the beta. I'm going to pick a Gat here, who's the little guy of the choices, because he's a healer, and that just seems to me to save me some trouble. When I'm out there, I don't wind up checkpointed as often. I just have to, if I do get downed, I just wait till he heals. As long as he's not downed, then I can just continue on. So he's the smartest choice. I'm not lacking in DPS on this character anyway. Now, if you choose this guy and you choose to dig in, you have two choices here. You can dig in, or you can go out and look for and save survivors. If you choose to dig in, you qualify for a different set of achievements, and there's actually 2 or 3 related to dig in, including one for Sylvaris, because there becomes some racism happening. If you choose what I'm going to choose here, which is to go out and search for survivors, then there's only one achievement tied to that, well, main achievement. So this is meant that you would run this 3 times if a non-Sylvari, and 4 times if, or maybe 3 times as well if you are a Sylvari. Now she's going to pick Gat here, because he's the healer. Brom is the DPS if you pick him. You've got Lantrasaur anyway, so what do you really need another DPS for? And then the other guy that you would pick is if you were choosing to dig in, the other Char. Helps you put in trebuchets and things down.
Now fall in and let's get to work.
It's not worth risking more lives to save Sylvari prisoners. They're already gone. Sylvari belong to Mortal.
You're a fool. Only weak-willed Sylvari are vulnerable. The rest of us, myself and the commander especially, fight back.
He's right. Mortaroth wants us to turn on each other.
It seems like she's also gotten a nasty break. There doesn't seem to be, even though this is instanced, there doesn't seem to be a constant time of day. It seems as if the time of day runs regardless of when the character hits this scene. It doesn't change. So in other words, it's not always daytime for this instance until you get to the nighttime part of it. It seems as if this just happens whenever. Now, because she's Sylvari, she's going through this little discussion here, and this guy stalks off because he doesn't want to work with Sylvari, etc., etc. So if you are playing a human or a Norn or anything other than Sylvari, you won't see that little chitty chat. But now she's gotten into the dark, so you know, doing this at nighttime is much less fun than doing it during the day. You notice the little green star lights your way to tell you how to go down this path, but if you realize you go out the gate, turn right, go around behind the camp, and you'll find the stairwell down. Took a couple of characters for me to figure that one out. Now there's characters wandering down here padding around, which we didn't have before. In beta, very often, at least I never ran into them down right at the base of the first stair.
Commander, did you hear that? It came from above us.
Not tough, but this guy just doesn't like to go down.
The enemy keeps collecting corpses and prisoners. This is the first time we've had any sign of where they wind up.
So eventually you get the hang of where the stairs are. Turn left, stairs, go up. Now watch this guy. Do what she does. Stay just in line of sight. Move this line. Don't get up on top of it till you've had a chance to knock it down a bit. Because you see she's taking no damage from it, but if she'd walked right into it, it would have been a different story. First group of maps. Somewhere in this bunch of guards up on this plateau, it's not uncommon at all to get checkpointed, so don't feel bad. You'll just get tossed down to where that vine was just before this group, but you won't lose any progress and you just pop back, so it's sort of like a waypoint. She didn't get downed at all, but I'll show you in the second video with the Elementalist what happens if you get downed in that first story part in Silver Wastes. You actually, if you have to go to a waypoint, it just revives you right where you were. Just like as if someone had revived you, which is a bit tough because you're still under a mob at the time, but you know, you can manage. She's got pretty good gear for someone who's mainly in leveling and Silver Wastes kind of gear. But I won't say she's finding these guys non-trivial. Okay, here's the dude. Overseer. This guy does have that nasty beam that he hits you with it. Does toss you around a lot. He himself is not the worst hitter, but he does have some very strong hits occasionally. He can couple shot you, but not, he just takes a long time to get down. He's just got a lot of health. And stay out of his fire, move around a lot. That's big axe swing he takes. This stun isn't so bad. It's that great big axe swing that he takes that does the real damage. That thing. You have NPCs, so use them and try and stay behind this guy and in his sprite. There we go. I knew I got down here, checkpointed. See, there you go. So it says, do you want to go back to a checkpoint? The answer is definitely yes, because it will just take you down. This is where that vine was, just at the top of, through that little arch at the top of the stairs where we had that vine, and this is where we ran into the first little pack of mobs, and our NPCs are doing a good job of continuing to whack away at him, so no fears about getting downed here. You'll get right back at it. In fact, I think they've done better without me here. In fact, they've done so well. There he is. Eventually he'll call for Mother, which she's about to do when he gets to a certain health point. You get the vomiting plant. This, I think, originally was supposed to do something really serious to you, but it doesn't. It entangles you and lets go, so it really doesn't do anything much. But it does summon a couple of ads, a few wolves. But hey, come on, there are wolves. Aren't they only wolves? This is where you want Gat. Wolf on you when you're trying to revive.
We'd better get back to camp.
Glad you're alive. Feared the worst when you went missing. What went on here?
And yes, these wolves are tougher than the ones you're used to in Silver Wastes, for sure. Somehow doing all of that, we got rid of the commander.
now we're going to give
And
Mortimer's
you'll notice the big green arrow on the mini-map shows you where you
I
need to
hope this
go.
proves what I've been saying. If we work together, this doesn't have to be a total disaster.
Checking for mastery status. This character seems to have inherited, whether everyone just started out about 2/3 along the basic glider experience path, which is where I was in the beta weekend 3 when I left off because they reset our gliding experience back to 0, took all our masteries away from us after beta weekend 2, and I didn't have enough time to play in beta weekend 3 to get the glider basics back, but I was about 2/3 along the path. And that's where this started out, so it looks as if maybe everyone got that, or they simply started us back out at 2/3 experience along to speed up that glider process. There's a bunch of little raptors here because it's nighttime. Just ignore them. Do a few dodge rolls. Move it on past and get into the camp. Well, the NPCs will take care. Alright, so now there's a few waves of these guys. Again, if you picked Gat, you've still got him. He's still able to heal you. Whether he would otherwise, I don't know. I only picked Brahm once on the very first one, and it's been 8 characters ago, so... There are about 6 waves here, maybe. And it's nighttime, so they're worse at night. Usually they're harder, but there's like 6 waves of these mobs, and then you get the big guy. The Cavalier, or whatever he is, on his little nasty horseback. Critterback. And then when you've lived through all of this, you then get to go out of story mode, and your time from the sky is finished and you're into exploration, which is definitely my favorite. And a big personal story fan. Doing mini battle. It's often much later than should have from a gear perspective. Now, with a ranger also, of course, you have the pet will come and protect you. There's Gat. He just comes down there. Very helpful. Next back. Some of the NPCs do throw up shields. Moving around here and don't stand in the red fire circles will definitely make this whole part go a lot easier on you. I haven't done the elementalist yet. I'm not looking forward to healing her gear during this section. Should be interesting. This was a bit of a battle, but it was straightforward. Never really felt... Be careful with the edges when you don't have gliding. Never felt too out of it here with this character. I did have a few goofs that led to problems, but I don't think in her named exotic weapons and her mainly exotic gear, I don't think she was like terribly overwhelmed. I mean, obviously in this case when you get whacked on by a big husk when you were tied up and entangled, then a whole heck of a lot you can do about that. Yeah, don't get hit by that fire line. That thing is definitely going to shot you. Okay. So here's our Cavalier. People keep saying online these Cavaliers are horrible, and I mean, this like this, you can one-shot you if hit you the wrong way. Any of those horned charging creatures can just, if they run straight through you, can one-shot you. But you've got lots of healing here. The problem is then she gets caught by these whole pack of trolls. But you notice that between the healer and her pet and herself, she's managing to heal through a whole pack of trolls. That's great. That's great.
Sharpen your blades and guard your vitals. I'm back.
So he took care of this guy pretty much, except it's smoky stuff, causing chaos and a bunch of poison stuff. You do get so bored with that thing dismounted this Cavalier. Notice he's not hitting back hard in this case, he's just simply got one. The problem here when you're a clothy is surviving this long. Even with relatively little hit. This is just a boring fight on this character. Long, boring hell. Now this again was pre the nerf. Supposedly it's a lot easier now. In the jungle perhaps, PvE. I'm not sure the story is a lot easier. With the bug, my clothy experience today, Silver Waste, I would say it's actually harder. But that could be a gear factor. She's so under-geared for this. For this one's about where, I haven't been doing fractals and you're not ascended, but you just rolled a new character and you spent a little time gearing it up, that's about where she is.
You could use some help.
Tribune, you're alive. But where
So
have
it
you
feels
been? about
right.
And what's that new magic you're using?
Later, Cup. All you need to know is that I'm back,
That was
and
right
I'm
loud.
better than ever. Right now, we've got comrades to rescue and dragon minions to kill.
Gridlock's right. We need to find Destiny's Edge and hit Mordramoth where it lives. Let's go, Tribune. Time for us to kill another Elder Dragon.
Commander,
A lot of
there are more
chit-chat.
Pale Reavers out there. I'd like to gather them together and take command. As a Sylvari only unit, we can monitor and protect ourselves from threats both internal and external.
I like the storyline, but the
If
problem
any of us
is
show
having
signs
to
of
endure this one
faltering,
times,
the
5,
others
6,
will
7
do
characters or
what must be
whatever.
Consider your request authorized.
It's going to get a little bit challenging at the end, but it gives you a rest between mobs.
Listen up. We're breaking camp. Get the wounded to the Silver Wastes. Larenthir will remain here to secure the area.
Thank you, Commander. I'm headed to the high ground.
And gives a
That's where the
chance for
Pale
daylight
Reavers
to
were
come back.
trained to go. And do talk to some of the Pale Reavers we rescued. They may have overheard valuable intel while they were imprisoned.
I saw you dive into the mists. Where did you end up? How did you learn new magic?
Okay, done. And that's the end of Torn from the Sky. So there's steps 1 and 2. Not so hard. A bunch of gear for defeating the Cavalier or whatever, and a few other stuff.
Okay, but I have a lot more questions.
Save 'em. We got
And more importantly,
Let's get to
a mastery point. And see what I mean about she's got almost 3/4 actually of the way through basic gliding at the beginning.
Flight's different too. How is he doing what he's doing?
So that made it very easy for her to finish off basic gliding
Me too. It's a
while
good
just doing the
Took heavy losses,
early
but
parts
we're
of the
still in this
exploration of the Verdant Brink section. So by the time that we get to her next second video upcoming, which is, just needs me to narrate it, which is the Arctic Basin exploration, by the time she's got there, she's already gotten her gliding basics. And she's working on bouncing mushrooms. Alright, exit this instance. And now we're in Verdant Brink. Explorable version. Back to the world. So this video is going to continue running her along a bit and doing some basic exploration here, getting waypoints. This is a little bit different in some aspects than it was in beta. A little bit. And again, this is like the second day of the expansion, so it's pre-Nerf. This is as it was originally shipped. Get the waypoint and definitely use the anvil. You need these anvils. They've this time they've put them in good spots. One of the first things I'm looking for here is, of course, this is where you're going to go back. I'm just curious to where it goes back to. It's going to take you back into Silver Wastes. Back in that. Somewhere in there. It's nice that it flashes now as to where certain things are. Not where you are, but just checking out here that things are roughly where they were in beta before I pick a path and go wandering off. Without gliding, you've got to be careful of your path because some paths are really not open to you fully. Plus, this is a multi-tiered jungle, so there's a canopy, and then there's the lower jungle, and right now we're in a middle layer, so.
It's spicy. Oh, we got a mini blade dancer, very cute.
Always check out the vendor, but in this case, the vendors are reputation locked, so rather than in old Tyria where it seemed as if you didn't even know they were a vendor necessarily, or they were a vendor, like the Karma vendors of the Renown Hearts, you wouldn't even know they were a vendor until you finished their Renown Heart. In the case of other vendors, you see all their wares, but you just, and the currency, but you just didn't have the currency. In this case, you may have the currency, but they're locked because you don't have the mastery, and you haven't achieved the appropriate reputation with them. But they are letting you buy and sell the regular basic stuff.
We flew in here as conquerors, but Mordremoth reached up and tore us out of the sky. We're working with the native Itzel to secure a
So
foothold
where to
before
go from
nightfall.
here?
They tell us things get even more
Let's
dangerous here
talk
at
to
night.
the man with the telescope. Going to the Itzel Frog place up there in the north is a good thing to do because it's relatively easy to get to. as a starting point. It gets you a waypoint, it gets you another repair, it gets you some more vendors. I'm glad they brought this frog vendor down, though, to the starting point, because all those instances leading up to this, from the time that you left Camp Resolve in Silver Waste, have been vendorless. You've had repair anvil. I think it wouldn't hurt at all if you'd had a repair dude who could also merchant to you. Now we're going to try and find the Itzel frogs, but we have to remember we have no glider, so we're stuck with the paths for now. So we may not get where we want to get the first time through. And of course, the reason we're taking out some of the gathering nodes along the way is they all provide XP, so any old XP in a storm right now to move those experience bars along in these masteries. And pick up those flax seeds and things when you find them, because you're going to need a lot of them. So depositing them away in your materials. Okay. So we're in frog country. There's lots of little games. Bugs in the Branches, of course, is a great game, but right now we're not going to be playing games as much as exploring. You can't use the bouncing mushrooms or that updraft, which is in the center above it, unless you have the mastery. But, you know, this is the first day of the new release. We gotta just try it. Yeah, okay. We could always hope. No freebies. I'm gonna go up this hill into Itzel territory. She's just gathering what she can, get that XP, checking out, making sure things are still as they appear. Yep, normally that is the road. We can see it from here, but we have to go back here to get to it. There we go. There's a few mobs I'll pop up here sometimes, but you can usually outrun them.
So pretty.
Just don't fall off since you don't have a glider. Oh yes, as long as you have a pry bar, which it gives you one when you first come in, when you finish the first story, when you start touring from the sky, those pry bars are useful to open these little caches that are actually quite frequent in this first section. Good, so we've already opened and we're close to a waypoint. Get that waypoint. Nothing worse than getting downed close to a waypoint that you haven't gotten yet. And having to run it all over again. No, they won't talk to you because you don't speak their language. Unlike in the beta where they were quite chatty. There's much more is now locked behind the masteries. That waypoint. Trying to figure out how to get down here. Ah, well, where's the waypoint? And the answer is, it's sort of him. At least at this level, it's sort of him. Strangely enough, when I came back up to it later, it's actually a waypoint circle, but initially when I first ran over it like that, it wasn't. So there are still, this was first day. There's been many patches since this, so there are some little bugs, other than the ones the Itzels eat, that were popping up. Ah, look, another player. Cool. Let's chase him for a while. Oh, 2 other players. Very good. Oh no, they've got bouncing. Darn, all I do is spin. Now, there's a lot of champions out here. Don't take on the champions unless you've got buddies, and I would say in many of these cases, more than 2 buddies, like more than 3 players. You'll see on some of these videos that just, you know, you take on a champion and you're managing to hold your own, and then 2 other players come in, and then you're doing even better, and then everybody gets downed. So I almost have the feeling a ranger could take one of these champions on if you could just keep yourself at range and swap pets often enough. But they're just extremely long battles. You can see with her weapons anyway, she's not getting hardly any damage on these champions. She's just whittling them away a little bit by a little bit. Somebody's being dragged around by a mushroom, or they're dragging a mushroom. I'm not sure which. Let's help him out. Ah, yes, this point. If you have gliding, apparently you can get up on the rocks and glide to this, but if you have the Itzel poison lore mastery, you should be able to walk right into it, because that poison, those poison vines won't kill you one shot like it just did to her. So that's in this cave, the red cave here, and this is in the upper, I guess you'd call it the northwest corner of Verdant Brink. Ground level-ish. There's actually 4 levels listed in here. You can't get to the canopy till you have gliding, because the helicopters that you need to go up there won't take you unless you have gliding, because there's no way you can get back down without it. And every place there's a waypoint, where, well, a packed waypoint where you can bring supplies, and there are helicopters. Those have canopy waypoints. See, now this looks like a waypoint, which it didn't before when I came through it. Anyway. Yeah, most waypoints that are packed supply waypoints actually also have a canopy. I won't say waypoint, but area, NPC area above it. And then those are, in the canopy, they're loosely connected by glidable points. If you're playing in the canopy, I would really suggest you get updraft, and the closer you can get to level 4 gliding, where actually your endurance doesn't matter anymore, and you have a much longer, if not maybe infinite, glidability. It looks like they did give us longer endurance, longer gliding time for basic gliding than they did in the betas, which all were too short to get anywhere. But still, there's value in getting the higher level gliding masteries. This tree town of the Itzel frogs is just so cool. And very glidable. Right now she's collecting a few points, chatting to some NPCs, exploring some points of interest that she can reach. There's not a whole ton of... Oh, and here's... I want that Vista, but I don't have gliding. Not a whole lot you can do without gliding, but there is some, so she'll show you this Vista is very gettable. I think the branch navigation is better than it was in beta. But Play on the mushroom. I'm not gonna help you. The problem is the mushrooms are distracting, I find, from the actual vista points. The vista's over there, girl. Where is it? I'm looking down. Oh, there it is. It's above me. How did it get above me? Came too far. This one was even easier than it looked. How do I get up on that rock? How do I get up? Doesn't matter. Don't need to get up on the rock. Just get high enough and it'll trigger. That is neat. Maybe the head of some massive animal, or it looked like the head of a massive animal. Okay, so she's going to keep exploring, but I think we've proved the point that, at least for a ranger, in some fairly decent silver waste non-ascended gear with a couple of named exotic throwing axes, and a few good choices along the way, even with making quite a few mistakes along the way. This has been quite playable and enjoyable and not really very difficult at all. It would be interesting to run this with another ranger after the nerfs that they've done and all the patches to see how much different it is. But instead we'll content ourselves with a different test, which is an undergeared clothy. Okay, so here's a hero point. Now you have to be careful. There's mastery points and hero points. Hero points are just like in Central Tyria. In fact, why beat on a champion or something massively ugly here? Well, the answer is here you'll get 10 hero points for getting down something substantial. So if you've got friends like that, or people who you casually run into, then it's worth it if there's enough of you. Otherwise, quite frankly, don't take on champions by yourself or under geared. You'd be better off to go back into Central Tyria and with an alt and farm hero points there, because those are the same hero points you can use for learning. In this case, you can learn your druid or tempest or whatever your elite specialization is. For training those spells, these hero points count, but they're not mastery points. So taking on a champion for or a senior veteran for a mastery point, okay, but for here 10 hero points? Yeah. She's just definitely not got the point here. So, is there a way to jump it? Can I jump over it? No! Dead. Do you remember there were no guides on day one? So, sometimes you just gotta learn the hard way. Some people are running in. Those people who are just running in, they must have Itzel Poison lower, which I think is level 4 on the Itzel scale. That's nasty. The mobs can run in there. You get revived and you get run over by a mob.